And welcome back to the Book and Life podcast. Today we're going to have a brand new book guest on. Whether they're an author, an editor, a producer, you'll never quite know, so you're in for one hell of a ride. But today I just have to do the adverts and then I'll get us straight into that most important conversation. And as we do every week, I'm going to read The Shadow, which is part of the Time Guardian series, and this is book 4 from Marianne Curley. The battle is over, the war is won. The prophecy complete, but life can't just pick up where it left off for Ethan, struggling to cope with tragic loss. At odds with friends in the guard, he finds himself adrift, jumping at shadows and sensing someone who can't possibly be there. Blaming herself for the goddess Athena's death, Giselle swears revenge, to vilify the Immortals' plan for world domination. But Giselle hadn't planned on love, and that leaves her with an unbearable choice. Should she follow her heart, or the strings of a goddess short on praise but high on expectation, who continues to pull her from the grave? As the Guard and the Order battle through the past and into an impossible future, darkness lurks round every corner. The fight for the world's survival rests with just one. Is it friend or foe who stands in the shadow? And just a reminder that The Price of Freedom by Rosemary Rowan, is being donated to the Ukraine refugee crisis. And here's the blurb for her book. It's one of her Roman British crime series, which was written under her maiden name. All editions can be found online where all books are sold, even her agents donating her commission. Sorry, I don't have the blurb for that, but that's what she's doing. And now, without further ado, let's get you to the guests. I have somebody here, as I said last week, that I've been dying to get on the show. Did not think I could get him on the show, but I just love him. He's got one of those absolutely amazing personalities that shines through his work, and I am so excited that he is going to join us for a conversation today. So without further ado, everybody, please welcome Andrew Gray.
Hey, it's wonderful to be here.
Do you know it's funny that you actually share the same last name as my aunt? I was thinking that as I was introducing you. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got the same last name as my aunt. Same spelling, too.
Yes, I took the English spelling.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah, she's Scottish as well, so, you know, there must be a Scottish connection in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm a little Scottish somewhere.
Somewhere. I think we all are. I think Scotland got around quite a bit. You know, we were very prolific, I think.
Yes. I was just in Nova Scotia.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was
beautiful.
Surrounded by Scottish.
Was that a bit of an adjustment for you? Because I know most of us are quite blunt, and then there's some of us that has, like, really perfect manners. Was it a bit of a eye-opener for you?
No, it was a great time. We had a great time. That is
brilliant, yeah. Because I have some people that say to me, oh my gosh, why are Scottish people so blunt? And I'm like, we're not all blunt. That's a stereotype.
People are people. Yep. Some people are blunt, some people aren't. It's just the way it is sometimes.
Yeah, I must admit, my husband, who's Glaswegian, very, very strong accent, had a TSA agent put her hand on his knee and ask him if he spoke English. In Philadelphia. I was mortified, and I had to translate for her. All over a t-shirt, by the way.
All over a t-shirt?
Yes.
Oh, do you speak English?
And it was so...
Do you speak English?
The way that he looked at her, I couldn't tell if he wanted to throttle her or just die in shock. It was like that kind of in the headlights look, and I thought, and then she asked me the same question before I even opened my mouth. And that was all over a pilot taking offence to a very famous Scottish saying, which t-shirt that he bought in the Los Angeles airport and decided to wear on his trip home. I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? So yeah, that was our little funny experience in Philadelphia. We loved Los Angeles. Absolutely adored it. I thought it was amazing. Still want to visit Texas and Colorado because I'm a horse girl. But yeah, I do love the States a little bit too much. My dad and my husband calls me a closeted American because they reckon I was born in the wrong country.
Okay. Well, I mean, I have a kilt that I wear to conferences. Okay. So I think we're all a closeted something else, okay?
Yes, we are. Yeah, I would agree.
I think it happens to all of us.
I'm the only one in the family who's loud, likes her pickup trucks, her shotguns, her horses, and yeah, I'm a very big fan of professional wrestling, so I kind of tick all the boxes of a southern girl, apparently. So yeah. My husband said if I went to the States, and spent real time there, I probably never would come home. Because there would be too much. I'd be like, ooh, I want to go do this. So yeah, it's kind of like a running joke in my family. So I love it. And that's why I love having Americans on, because I can kind of have that giggle and a laugh. And so yeah, my husband just sort of rolls his eyes and goes, oh, not again. So yeah. Well, if anybody's listened to my show, you'll all know it's not a show where we don't laugh. It's not a serious show. We like to have fun, and we talk about absolutely everything and anything, from the obscene to, I would say, the grown up, maybe. So yeah, this could be an interesting experience today. But I am excited to have you on because I know of Fire and Glass and In the Weeds, which is already out when this podcast is out. And you were telling me about another, what sounded like an awesome book. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the first one?
Coming out sometime in the March to May time frame next year is a book called Only the Brightest Stars.
I love that title.
It's Andrew Gray's take on the A Star Is Born story, because I hate the traditional Star Is Born story. Okay. I get all the time, it's so romantic. Yeah, but he dies, therefore it's not a romance. Sorry.
That's my take. Ending. Oh my goodness. Somebody finally agrees with me.
It's not a romance because it doesn't have a happy ending.
Thank you. It is a drama.
I took my own version of that story and I Andrew Grayed it. So not only does it have a happy ending, it's got lots of interesting things and interesting characters. So it's my take on the whole Star Is Born story.
I love that. Yeah.
So yes, it will have a happy ending. It's got lots of interesting characters and a lot of fun things. It's got characters with damage and all of that, but you're going to have a happy ending. The ending is going to be happy. It's going to be upbeat. It's what a romantic movie or a romantic story should be. So that's coming out next year, Only the Brightest Stars. I just got the cover the other day. And, yeah, the cover model is really pretty. He's Hollywood pretty.
Oh, I love that. Hollywood
Yes, he's Hollywood pretty. And
you sold me already.
Then later in the year, in October, we have a story called Drag Me to the Wedding Harlequin is publishing it. It's being published by one of Harlequin's imprints, and it's an all-out romantic comedy, laugh your butt off romantic comedy.
I love that. Do
It's
you
a
know
police
which one it's
officer.
coming out in? Did they
It
tell
will
you?
be. It's October of 2023.
Yeah, but what imprint did you say it was coming
It's
out in?
going to be one of. It's going to be Karina, part of Harlequin, is
Ah, I
bringing it
love
out.
that. Yeah, Karina's amazing.
And let's see, it's a police officer from Chicago who has to attend his sister's wedding in Missoula, Montana.
Mm,
Yes, he has to attend the wedding. His parents do not know that he's gay. He has basically compartmentalized his life.
oh,
He doesn't go
that's
home all
just
that often. He lives his life in Chicago, but he has to go home. He has to attend his sister's wedding. His mother has expectations.
right.
So all of his friends, all of his female friends are not able to go with him. So he goes with a drag queen.
I can see this
Exactly.
going so horribly wrong.
Exactly. He ends up going with a drag queen. He's going to his sister's wedding. And, of course, Daniel, a.k.a. Daniela, who that's how he attends the wedding as Daniela, a.k.a. Chicago's top drag queen, Lala Traviata.
Wow, I love that name.
Yes. And her drag. If you were going to drag name, let's talk about Lala's drag mother. Her drag mother is Two-Lane Highway, the well-traveled Two-Lane Highway.
Oh, that could be taken in so many different ways.
My husband came up with that drag name.
I love that drag name though. It is like a
Two-Lane
one.
Highway.
Yeah, it is one of the most amazing ones I've heard.
It's
Because
amazing.
I knew of a drag queen called Backwards,
Mhm.
and it was a play on sort of like she started her life backwards, in her opinion, and I just was like,
See,
took me
and
forever
that's-
for it to click, and then I loved it when I got it, and I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because she's like, we're all backwards, we're all going from, you know, the naked bald baby to our gorgeous delicious selves, and I was like, oh, okay, I could roll with that. I could roll with
But
that.
you know, Dominic, when he let's see, I did another book that had drag queens years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and Dominic helped me come up with some of the drag names. You know, we had Candy Cane.
Yes.
Yes, you know, we had all of these wonderful drag names. And from this book, Two-Lane Highway makes an appearance in that book as well. It's from years ago. I think it's called From Loathing to Love. It's the L book. The first word of the book is loathing, and the last word of the book is love, and all of the chapters have L headings.
Oh,
So,
I like
yes,
that. That's
it's
really
the
well
L
thought
book.
out.
It's
Yeah.
From Loathing to Love. And Two-Lane Highway makes an appearance in that, makes a brief appearance in that book. So I just had to bring back the well-traveled Two-Lane Highway.
Oh, I love that. Oh, sweet like treacle was another drag queen I knew. I don't think that they're a drag queen anymore though. Oh, and she'd go, honey, I'm a sweet ass treacle. And I just loved it. I just like, can I take you home? Can I please take you home? So, yeah, that was one of my...
So
And-
that's coming in October. So we got that in a year. Or
Ooh.
actually, what? Not in a year. We have that in however many months, but it's coming in October of 2023.
Yeah, because if you think about it, this is out in March, so that's...
Yeah.
7 months. 7 months, yeah.
7 months.
I had to count it on my fingers. But yeah, 7 months. I'm bad with math. Honestly, if I don't do things on fingers, no chance.
Yes.
No chance.
So,
But yeah, 7 months. I think that's amazing because that is like such a good October read. It really, really is a good
Yeah,
artwork.
it's gonna be an amazing, fun read. It's gonna be amazing. Um, let's see. Then we should have out now. We should have Fire and Glass, which I have a number of series that are set where I live in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
I love
And
that
so
place. Yeah.
I've got the Carlisle Cops series, which starts with Fire and Water. I have the Carlisle Deputy series, which starts with Fire and Fire and Flint, and then we have the Carlisle Troopers, which is state troopers. So I did all of the variations of police.
I like that though, because
And
you
the
could have
first
had
one in
the Carlisle Feds as well.
yeah, but we don't have feds here, so it doesn't work.
Oh,
But we have so the first one in that series is Fire and Sand. The next one, which should be out, is Fire and Glass, and I think coming up is going to be Fire and Ermine.
ooh, I
Yeah,
love that.
and that's going to be sometime later this year, but I'm not sure exactly when. But I've decided to bring a prince to Carlisle, so hence a state trooper and a prince. So hence the Ermine.
I like that.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
yes, we're gonna bring a prince. I figured it was time that Carlisle got visited by royalty, so we brought a prince to Carlisle.
Oh, I think so too. Because like, if you think about it, they get everywhere anyway. So
Yeah, yeah. So
why not?
why not have one visit here and fall in love?
Exactly, and I think that would be just really different and original. And I think that's something a lot of people are saying about romances. They don't feel that there's any real original stories anymore. And I think that's a fantastic original one that you can bring to the table
I mean,
and set it
there are
on fire
prince
again.
stories. There are prince stories. I mean, there's lots of them. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more prince stories than there are princes in the entire world. I'm sure.
Oh yes, I'd
Yes.
agree with that.
Um,
Definitely.
so what you have to do with any story, because there isn't any. It's hard to find something that is original.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to take something maybe it's been done and put a spin on it. You have to do something different. You have to do something fun.
Yes, I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. And it's hard too because getting that balance just right sometimes feels like climbing a mountain, really, doesn't it?
It
Because
does.
your back's kind of against the wall in a way because you want it to be perfect, but then at the same time you're very much aware of how am I doing this right? What am I presenting here? So I admire anyone that kind of rocks the boat a little bit and isn't scared to push the boundaries. I myself, I'm trying to do a little bit more rounded, diverse stories myself because I think it's like put your money where your mouth is a little bit at the time when you're somebody that advocates or you try to be an ambassador. And I think we all, as writers, I think if you think of what Virginia Woolf said, we are all writers and we all have a pen, we all have a voice. It's our jobs to be it's our jobs to write the world as it is, and what it could be. Don't know if you agree with me on that, but
Yeah, that's part of our job.
definitely.
If it's romance writers, it's part of our job to write the world so that it has a happy ending. Ours
Yeah.
is ours is very much a way the way we want the world to be.
I would agree with that
I mean,
100%.
it's what we do as romance writers. Just like with Only the Brightest Stars, I took the old Hollywood standard that's been made 4 times at least. I've seen 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
At least it's been 4. I haven't seen the latest one. And I decided that I wanted to do a true romance version of that story. I wanted to do something. I wanted to make it happier. I wanted to make that story the way I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and I think with the world as it is right now, it's not a happy place. And I think we can change that. And I think we can do that by using our pens and writing a much happier world and a much happier story for us to all kind of escape into, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, we share a lot of thoughts and similarities I was not expecting. I'm sort of like blown away a little bit here. I love it. Because usually everyone argues with me when they come on the show. They're like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. I stuck my foot in it. What's new?
As my job as a romance author is to tell a really good story, to put spin on things, to make it fun, to make a romance which the reader already knows how that it's going to end happy because it's a romance. They already know certain things about the book. Yeah. There are certain expectations with the type of story. If you write a secret baby story, there are certain expectations about that story. So how do you take a secret baby book and turn it on its ear to make it different, to make it special? I have a story that I'm working on through my agent. It's called, right now the working title is, and who knows if it's ever going to come of anything, but it's an secret baby book.
Oh, wow. Oh, yes. That has to become something, Andrew. We have to make it something.
It's funny. It's a comedy because how can an secret baby not be funny?
Exactly.
It's called, the working title is Gunkle Daddy.
Oh, I love that. Oh, we have to make this happen.
Because the child involved is being raised by his gunkle after his sister died. And the sister knows who the father is, but she's dead. He knows who the father is, but the sister has sworn him to secrecy and was so hurt by his departure that she never wanted to see him again and made him swear he would never tell the father that he has a son, that what's happened, that she was going to raise the child alone, but now she's made him swear. And of course, in the course of his work, he ends up working with the guy.
Yeah. It's a really shocker. Yeah.
So he's got to bring his son.
Oh.
So yes, it's put him and his son in direct collision course with the father. And
it needs to happen. Yeah, it needs to happen.
I mean, you have to resolve the secret baby conflict. But there's other issues, of course. Like the father is heir to a Florentine jewelry dynasty.
Okay.
And he has no heir himself. He doesn't know that he actually has an heir, that he has one. He just doesn't know it. So yeah, I get to have all kinds of fun with all kinds of things.
But we do as romance writers, we have that fun that we can create. Because for me, like, I created wrestling romance. Like, how many people would think to create that? And for me, I know there's a lot of women, and I don't know if you agree with me, where there's men with oil-covered bodies, tiny trunks, they look well maintained, they have the charisma. Why not have that sexiness put to good use? Because a lot of the time it's wasted. So I put it on the page, and I get a lot of hassle from my wrestling guy friends because they're like, really? Do you have to sexualize us? And I'm like, sorry, dude, you're the one wrestling in your underwear.
Dude, come on, dudes. You've been sexualizing women for millennia, so they get to just turn the pages on you. Sorry.
Exactly. And they get upset with me about it, and I'm like, well...
You parade around in these teeny tiny little shorts...
And they expect us not to look.
You expect us not to look. It's like football players. You travel around in those really, really, really tiny, tight pants, and then you bend over and pass balls between other guys' legs, and you expect us not to watch?
Exactly. Please. Like, you're not going to expect us to look at your really defined bum and be like, Ooh, that I could bite that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I
it's
mean, come
natural, but
on.
I get a lot of stick. Because I think it's easier for them because they know me, so it's almost like, well, you know, we know her, we can give her stick. So I do get it. I do get a lot. Because I
Well,
wrote, you will love this. I wrote an erotica author working at an erotica author event. So there's all these half naked people on banners hanging down from the ceiling, and they're walking around in cosplay costumes. And these wrestlers, these tough and rough dudes, get booked into the same place. The promoter actually books them into the hotel that is happening at, so they have to stay there. And it puts what Trace and Kate on a collision course, and they haven't spoken to each other in years. And he is such a huge fan of her. He secretly tries to buy her stuff. He buys her romance novels, but she will not let him have any pictures of her. So there's kind of this almost banter that goes on, and it kind of builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and then they finally get together at the end. And that to me was an exceptional story, and that's Summer of Him. That was my last release, and it is because it's that almost of, I do mention in the novel, if you're going to sexualize yourself, don't expect me to enjoy it. I think she actually says those words, and I was just like, it's the truth. It's the truth, but in romance, and they do have a happy ending. But I left it open so I can do the second novel if I wanted to.
there you
So
go.
happy ending with a little strand left to play with. So,
Well,
but
and
I
the
love
nice
that.
thing, you can always you can always write the next story, but it doesn't have to be their story. It could be someone else's
Exactly.
story with them as the secondary characters, and you just pull this string.
Yeah, I've
You
got
know
a
what?
secret. I've had a secret baby in the next one. You know, this guy sleeps with this beautiful girl and has no idea that he was not playing with his protection, and ends up getting her pregnant. And it's kind of like, you know, it's cousin situations. They're cousins to the first ones in the book, and they have to kind of help them sort out their mess and get together. And I thought, oh, that is really cool. And I had fun writing it, but I haven't published it yet. I lost all my confidence, though, to be fair, sort of a couple of years ago, in this last couple of years. So trying to find my way back. Trying to find my way back. I'll get there. I'll get there. So I would love to hear a little bit about In the Weeds, your new Leaf series.
Well, what I've done is it's also set here in Carlisle,
Yeah.
and the first book in that series was New Leaf,
Oh.
and it's these are people. Both books are people that are coming back to town. Okay,
Okay.
for one
Yeah.
reason or other. In the Weeds, he's coming back to town to help his father, who's been injured, and
Okay.
his parents had a florist business, and their son is coming. He's coming back. He's been working as a florist to the stars, at least he
Oh
hopes,
wow.
in L.A. And it hasn't been
Right.
working out very well.
Oh no.
Not as well as he thought it was going to be. So he's
Right.
coming home to help his father, and the old floral business, the old greenhouse and floral business, has just been sitting there. After his mother died, the business is
Yeah.
closed, and it's just been sitting there. And the business is being used as a as a is using being used by not so nice people to grow things like pot,
Oh,
and
okay.
then with once the pot business became something that wasn't that big a deal, they branched out into other things, and they're sort of using the empty greenhouse and these empty buildings as sort of a warehouse, as sort of a
Right.
distribution point.
Yeah.
So he comes back. He discovers what's going on. He he and in that process he meets the one that got away,
Oh, I love that.
which is the police officer here in Carlisle who got away. He
Oh,
when he got it at the time he was marrying, he wasn't ready to accept who he was, so
yeah,
he had denied and denied his own sexuality and got married. He has a kid,
yeah.
um, but his wife has gone back to Central America, and
Okay,
he's raising his child.
yeah.
And so, yeah, this is very much a one that got away. It's a second chance romance,
I love that.
and
Oh,
and it's fun, and it's got a great ending. But yeah, the whole story, In the Weeds, New Leaf, they've all got this interesting twist to them
yeah,
about parents and the legacy of parents, and 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 do you pick up that legacy? Do you pick up and run with it and accept it, or do you really go your own way,
yeah,
or do you do a combination of both
yeah,
and make that legacy and what they've given you your own? Put your own spin on it, put your own stamp on it,
yeah.
and make it your own.
I
In
love
the
that.
first one, the most which is New Leaf, the most interesting character is actually the dead mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's really this interesting character that you never actually meet, but you see her through the story.
Right.
Um, he comes home. His mother, after his father died, is in New Leaf. His mother married a woman. His mother fell in love with a woman,
Oh,
and
right.
fell in love with Jane. And so now that she's gone, she left Jane the house, but she left her son the business.
Right, okay.
Okay, she left him the business, and it's this bookstore here in Carlisle, and it's not doing well, and he can't figure out how his mom could keep it going.
Yeah, of course.
His
It's
mom
hard,
has
yeah.
really weird sense of humor. He comes home, he comes into the kitchen and he turns to Jane. He says, "We got to do something about this wallpaper. I can't stand it. It's chickens and foxes." He says, "Every time I come home, I expect to see bloody carnage on the walls."
I would as well.
Exactly. He goes into the powder room and he steps into Whoville.
Oh, jeez.
At the
I love
store,
that.
when he goes to the bathroom, it's Alice in Wonderland, which gives a whole new meaning to going down the hole, down the
Yes, it
rabbit hole.
does.
Exactly. His mom has this really weird, quirky sense of humor, and she brought it to life.
Of course, and of course it'll be the community factor as well. That's how she's made it work.
She's
Is
made it
her,
work. It's funny.
yeah.
It's interesting, and
Yes, it is. Yeah.
so you've got these quirky characters who come to life, and it's just so much fun. I had so much fun writing them. So much
I
fun
love it.
writing these books.
I love it. So, is there one that's upcoming that you're really excited about? Would you
Oh
say?
goodness! Wow.
You have to pick one.
I have to pick one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Little teaser for our listeners.
I get excited about every one of the books
Yeah.
that's upcoming. Oh gosh, it's hard to say. It
I know,
really
right?
is.
Like
Um,
everyone looks at me and they dread this question at the
well,
beginning because it is a
well,
little bit of a
I mean, because
hard one.
everyone is a favorite. I mean, you love everyone as you write it. Otherwise, you wouldn't write it.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I've got coming up. Well, we've already talked about Fire and Ermine, which is coming.
Hmm.
Um, we've already talked about Drag Me to the Wedding, which is just an absolute. I think it's got to be Drag to the Wedding. I mean, that one is just
Yep.
going to be so fun and so funny.
Yes, I think it will be
I
actually.
mean, the mother, as I said, the mother has expectations.
Of
And her
course.
expectations are needle pointed in a sampler on the wall as Mama's Ten Commandments.
Oh, one of those. Yep.
Yes, one of
Yep.
those mothers, and it's not the Ten Commandments, it's Mama's Ten
Ten
Commandments.
Commandments. Yep.
You know,
Yep.
thou shalt call thy mother.
Yes, I can see where that's going. I have a mom very similar. She had
Yes,
great expectations for me,
she had,
and I'm
yes.
glad I actually managed to. Oh, I became a writer, which was not part of her expectations, but she wanted me to have one of those stable jobs and 9 to 5 lives, and uh, I am obviously a writer who is only now completing her university degree. So, yeah, it was a little bit of a interesting start, I think is the best way of putting it.
Well, I mean, I got a business degree years ago.
Yeah,
Then I went back and got a master's and ended up in retail for a while. Then moved into information systems. I have a master's in information systems ultimately. I was an
yeah,
information systems project manager. I was managing people and teams, and now I write.
I
Who
know.
would have thought? Who would have thought that this whole circle would have come around? So you never know where life is going to take you. You just don't know. So
Yeah, exactly.
who'd have thought?
Nobody thinks that. Like, I would never. I thought I was going to be a midwife, um, because I love babies, I love children, I love helping women have children. So I honestly thought that that would be my calling, that my life. But actually, my health had other ideas. I have a I have a long term illness, degenerative illness is what they call it. So I had to be kind of smarter, and I think I've had about 14 different career changes in my life, because with that, you never know where you're going to end up. And yeah, so I couldn't have the 9 to 5 jobs. I've tried working in a school, I've tried working in children's homes, and all of that, and unfortunately, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So writing has always been there for me, and it's pulled me, back all the time. So I feel kind of special and
We all
relieved on that one.
we all have to follow our path, and sometimes it's a very crookedy one.
And we don't get choices. Can I just state where you end up is not all about your choices. It's
Well,
sometimes completely without your control.
some
Just
some of them can be out of your control, but it actually is your choices. I'm going to disagree with you there. It's how
good.
you deal with those things that are out of control
Yeah,
that determine the outcome. Some things are out of your control, but it's how you deal with them and the choices you make around them that actually determine your path. Because you could have had this degenerative disease and done nothing.
exactly.
Instead, you chose to try all these different things, and then you chose to try writing, and then you'll choose whatever you choose going forward. It will be your choice.
Yeah.
It
Well,
it gives
the
you
thing is, I never stopped. I literally watched, the people I was growing up with. I was on a cancer ward, so they passed, and I do suffer from, survivor's guilt. But the ones that had long term illnesses like myself, they did give up. And I remember just looking at them and thinking, I can't do that. I can't quit. And I don't know why I could not give in. And trust me, I mean, last year I spent the entire year near enough in the hospital. I got sepsis, and I had to have joint replacements removed and new joints put in. And it was awful. And there was times when I thought, oh, it'd be so much easier if I just stopped fighting. But I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. And I actually was studying with sepsis last year, and I barely passed, but I passed my year. And I just keep thinking back to that, like, it might take a lot of my freedoms away, but it has made me a really strong writer, because no matter what I'm going through, every day I sit down at the computer and every day I write. I
so
write something,
that it's that decision that's what determines the outcome.
Yeah, I wish I didn't get this this illness
No,
at 2.5 years old, but it has forced me, I think, to follow
well,
the path that was always meant to be
you can't
for
change it.
me. No.
So you live with what you can't change, and you make the decision as to how you're going to move forward. So
Yeah.
that's my feeling on things. That's how I, and that's a big. You'll find that a lot in my books.
I
Is
like that about
is
your
there are
books,
things
though.
that you can't change. It's how you deal with them.
Exactly. And I think I love your books for that because there's almost like a realism effect. And I like that because it's almost like saying, okay, you can go through all this crap. And it is crap. Let's be honest. But you determine who you want to be. You determine if you want to be a criminal. You determine by your choices what you want to go through. But on the other hand, if you're handed a long-term illness, that's not something you've chosen. That's something that's been
Well,
pressed upon
we
you.
don't always get to choose everything
No.
in our lives.
No.
So you know there's the old saying which is always there.
Yep.
Um, that the old prayer. You know, God give
I'm
me
trying
the
to think what
strength.
it is as well, yeah.
God give me, what is it? God give me the strength to change what I can, to live with what I can't change, and the grace to know the difference.
That's
It's
exactly right, yeah.
and those people that are unhappiest are the ones that rail against what they can't change.
Yes, that is so true.
It's
And
so
I spent a number of years fighting what I could not change. And I can tell you here and now, it got me nowhere. It
it got you nowhere.
nowhere. I just spun my wheels like I'd lost the road behind me. But then I learned, okay, I need to rethink this. I need to rethink what I'm doing here. And I'm lucky that I had writing and I had a lot of really great supportive people who allowed me to do that and allowed me to launch myself into something more, into something different. So yeah. So let's talk about books. I love
Okay.
this topic. What's the book you've read most recently that stuck with you the most? The one that you just cannot, for the life of you, get out of your head.
Oh, wow.
It's a
Um,
toughie. It's a
it
toughie.
is a toughie. I mean, there have been books over the years that have stuck with me for various reasons.
Yeah.
There's a book I read, and I've read it a couple times.
Yeah.
It's a really big book.
Oh, but don't you love just really big books? Because you know what you're getting into with a really big
You know
book.
what you're getting into. It's going to
Yeah.
take you days and days to read and lots of stuff. But
Yeah.
it's Ken Follett's The Pillars of the Earth. I read it years ago.
Hmm.
I've read it a number of times. It's a wonderful epic story.
Ooh. There's nothing better than
Okay,
an epic.
and the funny thing is, he didn't start out that way, but in the end, it's a romance.
Oh, okay. That
He
was a bit of a
didn't start
swerve.
out that way.
Yeah, that's a bit
The
of a
whole,
swerve.
the whole, it is, but the whole book revolves. I mean, it takes place over 30 years,
Wow.
and it revolves around the building of a cathedral in the 12th century. But the central characters, you've got two real central characters, and they fall in love with each other. And you've got all of this going on, and, he writes this amazing book, but in the end, it's a romance. I just don't think he really meant to start out that way.
Yeah,
But in
I
the
love
end,
that when
that's
it's
what it
it's
is.
not what they aimed for, but it's where they landed. Yeah, I love that. I do love that.
Yes, yes. It's this old historical epic. Ken Follett is an amazing storyteller. I've read a whole bunch of his books. He can always tells this great story,
Yeah.
and that's what I like most is being able to tell a really great story. Whether it's a romance or whether it's something else, you've got to have the really great story. It can be
Yes.
the story of two people falling in love and all these other things that happen. but it's still got to be a really good story.
Yes, I agree.
I went to a conference years ago.
Oh, I wish I could go to a book conference.
And it was a long time ago. It was one of the first conferences I went to. And this was a professional conference. This was a conference for writers.
Yeah.
It was in New Jersey. And one of the ladies was doing a talk on storytelling.
Right.
And she talked about a story, and one of the examples she used is the old Hemingway classic. And he was challenged to tell a story in 6 words. So his 6-word story was, "For sale, baby shoes, never worn." That was his story in 6 words.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah, it just takes a few seconds to think about it, and it's, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. So I wrote a novel called In Search of a Story, and it's the entire story of For Sale, Baby Shoes, Never Worn.
Oh, I love that. That is so cute.
It's a newspaper man who's he's trying to get off the copy desk. He's trying to do something. He knows that he's down to the last one, and he's looking for a story idea, and his editor it throws the classifieds at him and saying, why don't you just look there? Because obviously it's stuff, and he sees this ad, basically, that says, for sale, baby shoes, never worn.
Wow.
So he figures there's a story there, so he goes he goes looking for it.
Yeah, of course.
And what he finds is an amazing story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's for sale. Yeah,
of course there's going to be like an amazing story there. Yeah.
So.
Oh, you've just like rattled my heart and soul in that just that one.
For sale, baby shoes, never worn. There's emotion. There's drama. There's a real story, and it's only 6 words.
Oh. Wow. I love that. I really do. I mean, a lot of my stories, I will start, I know it sounds awful, but I do start out with 6 words, and I think, well, what, if I was to tweet this, I think that was the tweet challenge that I did. What would I put in that tweet? And I had a hard job. I really had an extremely hard job with that one. And I came out with, we'll do the one for Ride With Me. And it literally was, Ride With Me Forever. So I did it in 4. And that stuck with me. I actually used the first 3 in the title, so it would remind me.
Yes, every story, there's this process that I go through with each book. It's like, what is the high concept? What is that thing that you can say in a few words? It's like, that's the essence of the story.
Well, I gotta ask, if you saw a book that said, Ride With Me Forever, would you pick it up?
Is it a cowboy story?
Yep.
And those 4 words tell you certain things about the story.
Yep. That's why I picked them.
It tells you it's a romance. It tells you that it's probably a cowboy story.
And there's probably a horse in there somewhere.
Well, there's definitely a horse, because you got the whole Ride With Me Forever.
Yeah. Well, it could be a motorbike. You could argue a motorbike.
If you added 2 more words, you'd get even more.
Yeah. I couldn't think of 2 more words.
Ride with me where?
Ride with me for second chances.
Or where? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I have the answer. I'm just saying that
I like it, though, because you're challenging me. And it's not something that happens very often.
Where do you need to ride? Where do you want them? Because you're talking about them riding somewhere. But where? And that where's got to be really interesting.
I think it's the happy ever after they're writing to.
Oh, but that's expected if it's a romance.
Yeah.
You
That's
gotta have
me.
more.
That's me being honest, but yeah, that in my head was they are taking that horse ride to that happy place that they've never had,
But,
to that
but,
happy ending.
but that's expected with a romance.
Yeah.
So you've got to go further.
I
You've
would
got
say
to
ride with me for our either to our family or for our family would be a good one, because she, in a way, she's a ready-made family and he's becoming a part of that.
But I guess what I'm saying is it's got to be super interesting.
Yeah. I thought I had you with ride with me forever.
No,
So,
not quite, because you got to have where.
yeah.
Ride, how about ride with me over the cliff?
Oh, I like that.
That would be Thelma and Louise.
That would be a very Thelma Louise stuff. Yeah.
Okay, ride with
Love
me. Because I mean, you could do all the play, but what is the
Yeah, it is a hard one because it is
ride
that.
with me over the speed bumps of life? There's your comedy.
I love that. And it's not comedy. It's one of
No,
those
but I'm
ones that
just
it's a
saying.
tearjerker. The whole point of it was to find that tearjerker that just
But
makes you realize how amazing
there's
your
this
own life
whole
is.
there's this whole concept of what is the high concept of the book.
Yeah.
What is the point? What is the essence? And break it down into a sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. For Drag Me to the Wedding, our high concept was the wedding date meets La Cage aux Folles.
Oh, that is good. I like that. Yeah.
Okay, you get it. You get it in a few words, and there it is.
Yep.
We did a books called Hunks of the Month.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, calendar girls with guys.
I like that. Yeah, it's almost like a nice spin on it. Yeah.
But that was what we started with, but we took it further.
Yeah.
Now it's calendar girls. It's two guys on the calendar.
Yeah.
So now it's calendar guys who giving you flowers.
Oh, okay.
Because who wouldn't want two sexy guys giving you flowers?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
I see where you're going with this. Yeah.
You've got this high concept, and over the course of a book, it changes. It may morph. It may shift. But the high concept is that idea. What is this central idea? And it's got to be more than the happy ever after, because it's a romance. We expect the happy ever after. That's a given.
I think it's a promise, that they'll always, no matter what, ride with each other. And I think that's what I was trying to get across, Yeah.
But but every reader expects it. So you don't have to tell the reader what they already know if it's a romance. Yeah. You have to give your reader what they don't know. You have to give your reader a hint of the ride. Because the romance isn't about the destination as much as it is about the ride. It's about the getting there. It's about the roller coaster that they get to go to before the happy ever after, the ups and the downs. Because you can take two guys or a woman and a man. You can take them from completely different backgrounds. You can throw them together in an unlikely situation that draws them together, and it makes them, and feelings develop, and we've got all of that, and you can put them through complete and total hell.
Yeah, you can.
In fact, it's fun when you get to put them through hell. I get to rub my hands together in glee.
Yeah, you go, ooh.
As long as you give them as long as you figure out a path to a happy ever after at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
You
have to have it,
That's what you do with the romance. So it's when you're talking about that overarching concept, that key idea, you have to have you have to give them a sense of that journey.
Yeah.
You know, you have to give them a sense of the journey. So, you know, Ride With Me Forever, yes, that gives a little bit, but what's the journey to get there? What are the bumps? What are the pitfalls?
I think with kind of Cole and Lorna's story, it's Cole's coming back from a head injury where he's been breaking horses, and he fled after his father and her father were killed in a head-on crash. And I think it's really the fact that he runs every time the road gets bumpy. He runs no matter, like, he runs when it's tough. And here she is, the sort of beacon of strength and courage and bravery, because she's doing all these amazing things. And he can only see the pitfalls of, she might cut hurt, one of these children might die with the horses. You know, he can see all the bad stuff, and here she is, this positive light, but she will not be positive or forgiving with him. And she holds him, I don't want to say hostage, because hostage isn't the right word, but she holds him accountable for the fact that he fled on her in what should have been a time that bonded them together. That to me is the pitfalls, you know, and
yes,
she's facing that loss because her mother's got cancer, her mother's dying. So there's that kind of sense of the road isn't stopped being bumpy yet for her.
Right. In your words, in that synopsis of the story, you've got to give the bumps. I don't know what the answer is, but
no, we'll figure it out. You and me of those bumps. Yeah. I bet you after the show you'll go to dinner or something and it'll hit you, and then you'll write to me and I'll be like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you know,
it always happens to me. Always.
You've got to have the drama.
Yeah, you do.
You know, because like I wrote a story that's out. It's called Nowhere to Ride.
Oh, I like that.
Nowhere to hide. You know, it gives that sense of that there's bumps. That the road is rocky, that the road isn't smooth, that it isn't easy.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like that.
So what else do you have for us?
Oh, you wanting the next tough question? Are you sure you're ready?
Hit me with it.
Are you ready? Who do you wish, if you had infinite time to sit and read, you get one series and one author, and it cannot be the same genre?
Oh, it can't be the genre that okay.
It cannot be the same, like, you can have a romance author, but you can't have a romance series. See what I mean? So it's got to be two different series, like two different genres. And this is what you're going to read for a long time.
If I had to do it, let's see. Okay, something completely different. If I could only read that, there is an author, her name is Terry Brisbane, and she writes these amazing historical kilt romances. She's got all these sexy Highlanders. And the first one in this series is Taming the Highlander. And I just love that series. I don't read MF books very often.
Yeah.
But Terry's a good friend. She's wonderful. And I read these books and just sort of fell in love with them. So much so that I actually wrote a kilt romance. I wrote a contemporary kilt romance because she made me love it.
Because she inspired you, yeah.
Oh, yes, she did. She's inspired a couple books.
Oh, that's great. That's what you need. That is what you need in your life, is somebody to create that.
We were talking story.
Yeah.
And she and I had this great story, and she talked about Taming the Highlander, which is a Beauty and the Beast book.
It is. I was going to say, that's a Beauty and the Beast spin, yeah.
So we were talking about this, so I ended up writing Taming the Beast. I ended up writing a Beauty and the Beast book.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
The cool part is that the Beauty and the Beast of that book is the Beast is actually gorgeous. He's a beast on the inside.
Oh, okay.
Beauty isn't beautiful on the outside, he's beautiful on the inside. So the beauty and the beast is what's on the inside, not what's on the outside.
The outside, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had so much fun with that book, but she inspired that book. So it has to be Terry Brisbane's Highlander series, one of her Highlander series. She writes these historical books; they're so great. And let's see. So the other one, if I have to go with an author, I would have to go with Amy Lane because Amy is just like my sister. I absolutely love Amy.
So what does she write? Because that's
She
a name
writes
I've not
MM.
heard. Okay.
Amy writes MM, and she's been writing for a number of years.
Yeah.
And she's my husband calls her my con wife because we share hotel rooms at conferences and stuff. So I went to a conference in August in Houston, and Dominic says, "Are you staying with your con wife?" Yes. Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're with her, I'm fine.
The thing is, I have an American con wife. That's Amy. I have a European con wife. Because if I go to conferences in Europe, usually Suna goes, and she's my con wife in Europe.
Yep.
So
But can I just say you can be like eventually my con uncle who like takes me around and is protective of me because I'm the kind of girl that gets lost a lot. Yeah. So I could always use like that little guiding hand of Crystal. It's this way. Where are you going?
It's this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
so you could have a laugh with me about that.
Amy writes wonderful. She's written a knitting series.
Oh, woman after my own heart.
Which is wonderful. Oh. In fact, Amy turned me into an international hand model. Yeah, I know.
You're going to have to explain that one to me, I think.
Well, Amy knits, and she knitted me these fingerless gloves for when it gets cold here in Pennsylvania.
Of course,
and when she knitted me the gloves, she asked to take a picture, and those pictures of my hands appeared in an Australian knitting magazine. So Amy made me an international hand model.
Oh, that's amazing! I love that. Oh.
Yep. So So yes, whenever asked one of those questions that nobody knows about yourself, my answer is always I was an international hand model.
I love that because it's like such a weird thing that you wouldn't think of. Yeah, yep. No, I totally get that because I have some crazy stories about just getting like sucked in. I never meant to train as a wrestling writer. It was a challenge really because everyone told me, stay away from this guy. He's awful. He's always been awful. You won't like him. He doesn't get on with women. He's very sexist. So I took the challenge and I said, "Feck it, I'm going to go do it." And I studied under him, and gosh, he was a misogynistic guy. However, I learned to write wrestling. I put up with the fact that he said I'd never write it. But I can stand in front of a 6'3", 200 to 300 pound guy and say, "You're going to do this. This is the storyline. This is how it ends. I don't want to hear you complain. Get out there and do it."
Yeah.
And I'm the height of shite. So.
But
you have to be that kind of taskmaster. You are going to do it. And I fold under pressure, so.
If you haven't read an Amy Lane book, write an Amy Lane book, but be sure to read one of the comedies. She can write these angsty books that will rip your heart out 8 ways from Sunday.
I love that.
Oh, it's angst on top of angst. I love her comedies. Her knitting series. She has a Candyman series.
Ooh, Candyman.
She has.
That's not hotter though, is it?
Hmm?
That's not hotter Candyman, is it?
No, it's Candyman, as in around candy.
Oh, okay. Totally not what I thought you were going with there.
No.
Thank goodness.
No, there are books around a candy store. Around real candy, like lollipops and...
I love
and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Not drugs, no.
That's what I thought you were going with this, and I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
Yep.
So
she writes things around lemon drops and that. So, yeah.
I would love to recommend a woman to you. She's no longer with us, bless her, but Catherine Cookson. There is an English writer who wrote about equality. She wrote about domestic abuse. She wrote about racism. She wrote about disabled people being taken advantage of. And the way she writes it, it is for the blue collar person. Because that's the voice she uses. And, you're talking about one of the most... She can weave you into a world that you would never expect to be in. And you feel like you're walking in those boots with her as you're traveling this story. So yeah, I would recommend you try her. Because I really think you would connect with the stories. And I think you could see... You would really feel everything. And you have to have special people read her because she just brings out such emotion. I just adore what she did. And I hate that she's now being forgotten because she's not here anymore. You know?
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, please, if you have an opportunity, pick her up. And because Colorblind, the book she did called Colorblind, was exceptional. Yeah.
I have Colorblind.
I know. So I was like, same title, but different authors
title,
and.
But different. Well, I have my main character in Colorblind is blind.
Oh, where hers isn't. The girl's just blind to. She's actually colorblind, if you know what I mean. She's blind to all color. Yeah.
No, he's blind, but the love interest, he's white. The love interest is black.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, whereas mine was
he's
black guy,
white girl. This is an interracial romance.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
So that's the colorblind, because at one point, it's like he sees Ty, he doesn't see Ty, he just feels this person as a person, and it comes out at one point that Ty is black, and he says, "Oh, you're black," and Ty says, "Is that a problem?" and he says, "No, everybody's black to me."
Well, true. Very true. Very true.
Because
I love that. Yeah.
He colorblind. He does, from race and color, and you got all of that. He is truly colorblind.
But when you're blind, though, you're blind. There's none of that kind of. You can't be racist because technically everything's black, and you can't see the difference. You can't tell the difference if somebody is or isn't.
Well, it's racism knows no bounds, but that was the whole portion about this particular story was that even though it is an interracial romance, but it isn't about color. It isn't about the race. It's about just these two people
who love each other. Yeah,
who grow to love each other.
I like that. I do like that.
It's a workplace romance, so I got a little workplace drama in there too, which is
workplace drama are the best though, because if you're gonna be around somebody 5 days a week, 9 to 5, there's always going to be drama. There's always going to be tension, and I don't care who you are. There's always your friend from work. There's always the person you get on with. There's always the person you hate. So that, to me, that's just normal.
Always lots of drama in a confined space.
Yeah. And I think people just assume that, oh no, you go to work and everything's fine. No, it's not. That's just a myth.
No place I've ever worked.
No place I've ever worked either. Just saying, no, not any place I've worked. Everywhere I've worked, there's been a drama. And it's always the people you don't expect.
Well,
always the people you don't expect.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. So if you could sit and talk to anybody, past, present, over a meal, and you're talking books, you can talk about anything you want, who would it be and why?
Oh my word, I only get to pick one person?
Yeah, just one person. Dinner date.
Okay, I am going to pick someone very interesting.
Okay.
Betty Ford. the
You're gonna
wife
need to explain that one.
the wife of our former president, Gerald Ford.
Yes, I had caught on that much.
Okay, she was a feminist, a,
Mm-hmm.
a brazen feminist.
Yes.
She was the first. She was a person who got breast cancer and came out and talked about it.
Yeah, which was
She
incredible.
told the
Yeah.
world about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then she was addicted to pills and alcohol,
Yep,
and
that came out. Yeah.
she told people about that too. She was just this really interesting person that I think that if you get, would be interesting to be able to sit down with Betty Ford
Yeah.
and
I think
say,
it would
"Girl,
be.
what were you thinking?"
Like, how the hell did you end up there?
Because
Like,
you changed the world. Because she changed the world. She changed
she
our
did.
world in a way that nobody gives credit for.
No. No,
I mean,
I agree with you.
we wear pink ribbons for breast cancer. We do all this, but up until Betty Ford, nobody discussed it or talked about it.
No, and it was a silent killer because there
And
wasn't
she
there
talked
wasn't the
about it on
test
the
for it.
news. She did interviews about it.
Yeah.
She was upfront and personal about it, and the people in her husband's administration wanted to shut her down.
But isn't that always the case? If you
No,
think on it, isn't it always the case around people that they want to shut down the biggest voices
yeah,
because it's not beneficial to them?
yeah.
I see that so
And
much,
it was
and that
funny.
worries me a little bit.
There's a series that CNN did. I think it was CNN did it.
Right.
It's called The First Ladies.
Yeah.
And it's this 10 episode series, and it talks about Eleanor Roosevelt, Michelle Obama, and Betty Ford.
Yep.
And it's these stories of these three very different women and how
Mm-hmm.
they dealt with certain issues. And so
Yeah.
you see them over time. You see race,
Mm-hmm.
you see all these various issues and things coming into the White House, how it was different, leaving the White House,
Yeah, how different that was.
how
Yeah.
different they all were, how they all had to deal with it, the post-presidency and how they dealt with it, race.
That has to have been hard if you think on it, because you're going from this, almost perfect glamorous lifestyle to then being out of the camera
See,
and
that's the
out of
interesting
that
thing.
world.
That's the interesting thing. They were all happy to be gone.
Yeah. No, I'm
They
saying
were
though it's an
happy it was
adjustment though.
over.
Yeah.
None of them wanted to be first lady.
No.
So they were all reluctant. They didn't want to do it. They had
But
a
they
lot
had
in
to.
common.
Yeah.
They did it to support their husbands. They did it because it was their husband's ambition.
Yep.
Eleanor Roosevelt never wanted to be first lady. In fact, when Franklin died, she turned to Harry Truman and she says, "You're in the hot seat now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over." She was out of the spotlight.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. It was a very interesting series on these three women. But Betty Ford was the one that I just thought came across so very interesting.
Yeah, because it's for her. I don't know if her voice got as much
Well,
attention as it deserved.
it didn't because she was, because
Yeah.
Jerry was only in the White House for 2 years, and then he was out, he was gone. Somebody else came in. It was a very short presidency.
Yeah.
But in that short time, it was funny because she was more popular than he was.
Yeah, but then that does happen sometimes. I mean, everyone knows Hillary Clinton, but how many people have really talked about her husband?
Well,
She's usually the
he
first
was,
name on our lips rather than him.
well, now because she ran for office and she was
Yeah.
in the news more than he was recently. But if you go back,
Yeah,
it's a
he did some
different story.
awful. He did some awful
History
things.
always
Yeah,
history changes our view of things.
it does. I 100% agree with you on
So
that.
I would love to be able to sit down and have an interesting conversation with Betty.
You have definitely inspired. It definitely surprised me, which is not common on this show. Is there an author, past and present, who has influenced, inspired, and made you excited about books? You have to have one author for each of those. So that's for influenced, inspired, and made you excited about books.
Oh my word!
Hey, I never said to you this show was easy.
Let's see. Well, there's been a number of books and authors who've inspired me over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I did a series of mobsters in hiding.
Ooh.
Sort of yes, the Bad to Be Good is the first book in that series, and Christy Barth inspired that entire series. She had a series of mobsters in hiding,
right.
And she signed one of the books to me, and I read the prologue. I never read any more of the book.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden I got this idea for this whole series of my own, and I did not want her work to influence mine too much.
Of course,
so
yeah.
I only read the prologue of the book, but she inspired the entire series.
Yeah.
The idea inspired the entire series.
I like that, yeah.
What were the other two?
So it's influenced, inspired, and made you excited about reading.
Well, oh my word. Excited about reading is so easy because all I have to do is pick up a book. I mean, I've been reading since I was a kid.
Same.
I read I remember staying up late after my parents had gone to bed reading Hardy Boys books.
Yeah, that's a huge one that a lot of people say. Yeah.
Those sorts of things. So reading, I mean, there's lots of stuff that inspired reading. My mom was a big reader, so actually, I have to give a shout out to my mom for reading because she was such a big reader. My mom was a romance reader, so much so she gave birth to a romance author. How about that?
Yeah, I like that because they do say what you read influences the baby, but I'm not sure I take stock in that yet. But
and influence me. There's an author, and her name is J.L. Langley. She's written some wonderful books. She hasn't written a lot lately for whatever reason.
Maybe health.
But some of her early books, like The Tin Star, I read those books, and then I read them again, and then I sort of dissected them to try to figure out what made them so good and why I like them. And it was those books and her work that sort of got me started in my early career that helped me figure out this is what makes a good book.
Right.
This is what makes a good story, was some of her work.
Okay.
So I really liked it. I've reread some of them, and they're still good, and I still like them, but I think I spent too much time with them, and they don't have the magic anymore.
Right.
For me.
Right.
But that's okay. She writes amazing stories, and she is a wonderful author. She helped me get my career going. I've never met her. She doesn't even know me. We chatted once in a group chat once, very briefly. But
totally not what you expected, I'm guessing.
But she helped me get going.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. I can imagine that.
I'd love to meet her. I would love to meet her someday and just give her a hug and say, "You don't know what you did for me. You have no idea."
I think that's all of our goals, though. If you think about it, would it not just make your life if somebody walked up to you tomorrow and hugged you and said, "You made me a romance author"?
Yeah, that would be the best.
That would be the ultimate moment, I think, for all of us. You know, it's like I think it's like the thing that we all try to achieve in a way.
When I went to a conference in St. Louis, it's got to be 2021, a year ago.
Yeah.
I had a reader who asked if she could meet. She wasn't attending the conference. She was driving in. No, she drove in for like 2.5 hours to get there.
Yeah, yeah.
And she asked if I would be willing to sign some books for her. And
Yeah.
of course I said I would. We'll meet. We can have coffee or a little snack. We can meet in the lobby. We can do this.
Yeah.
What she brought in was a big plastic tub, and inside that tub was every book I had ever put in print.
Wow.
Every single one of them. And
That's
I
amazing.
signed them for her. Every single book.
Yeah,
And then
amazing.
she had asked me to bring the other books that she didn't have yet in print, which I did, and she bought all those, and I signed all of them for her.
Oh, that's amazing. I've only had that experience once, where I was on my first ever national book tour, and this young girl she nearly strangled me. She was that excited and upset, and she just kept holding on to me, and she goes, you brought me out of, you stopped me from doing suicide. Your story and your work and the fact that you talk so much about everything you've been through stopped me from ending my life, because I knew one person out there cared about me. And I remember crying in the car going back to the hotel, and Ian's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Because I just changed somebody's life by sitting and writing a book you absolutely hate." But he does. He has heard more about that series than anyone. I literally read the entire first book to him because I was having to practice for the events, and he goes, "Oh my god, if I never have to hear that story again, it'll be the best day of my life."
Yep. Yep.
But to her, it
to
changed
her
her life.
You never know when something is going to really touch someone.
Yeah.
The last I went to some years ago, I was going to the Leipzig Book Fair in Leipzig, Germany, and I had a reader who brought this stack of books, 60 books, and for me to sign.
Wow.
And I signed them. And the next year, she brought the other half of the collection.
Oh my goodness, your hand must have been cramping so bad.
No, I was happy to do it every single time.
Yeah.
And we have pictures of me behind a wall of books.
That's so
because
cool.
she brought the books in English and she brought the books in German. She had both.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just amazing, and it's so wonderful when that happens. So you never know when you're going to touch someone. And that's the beauty of what we do.
It is. And that's why I do it.
And it's the beauty of being able, of that person that inspired you or had an impact on your career.
For me...
I did a signing in September.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was August. It was for Romance Bookstore Day, so it was in August.
Yeah.
And Christy was there. And I said, I have a book for you. I have a book for you. And I gave her a copy of Bad to Be Good because it was dedicated to her. Because that's where I got the idea from. I said, no, I did this. I wrote this, and I show her the dedication. And I said, this is for you because you were the one that inspired all this. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was so cool.
That is amazing.
What else do we have?
I've never done that, by the way. I've never had somebody say, this book's dedicated to you. I've dedicated books to authors, but I've never had it done to me. So maybe one day.
Karen Rose dedicated one of her books to me. No, she didn't dedicate it to me. She included me in the acknowledgments, which I was just thrilled.
Yeah, anytime that happens is amazing. I don't think I can think of... Well, I had a co-author who did it, but we were working together at the time, so I didn't really count that.
Yeah. I think she did it. I think it's 11:45 is the book. It just came out, and she put me in the acknowledgments, which just made me thrilled. And then she sent me a copy of the hardcover.
Okay.
So that I would have the acknowledgement. She signed a hardcover and sent it to me, which was so sweet.
Yeah, I love that. It just means so much when you can get that sort of acknowledgement from your colleagues, and then you're also getting it from the fans. It makes that time when you're alone and you're missing things actually feel like it's worth it. What time, if you could go back in time, what time would you go back to, and would you go back as a writer, a prince, or what other job would you have?
What, would I have to stay there?
Yeah, you're thrown back through a portal.
Yeah, but I would want to come home.
You don't get that choice, though.
I mean, okay. I mean, the history is so dirty.
It is, but it's educational.
Yes. Oh, well, if I could go back to anywhere, I would probably go back to Renaissance Florence.
Oh, yeah.
Could that way then I could meet Leonardo and Michelangelo and all those people, and I would definitely be a prince, because if I'm going back there, I'm gonna live the high life. I'm not gonna be a peasant.
No. No, but there's some people that do want to be that blue collar because they want to understand what it was like to be in that position,
Yeah,
and to understand the people.
At least I'd have, if you're a prince, you'd have a chance of living past 30.
Yeah, it depends on who you sleep with. Well, you laugh, but it's true, because if you think about it, right, and in all seriousness, if you really think about it, there was a lot of people in that day and age who died from diseases that could have been prevented.
Well, of course. But I mean, the peasant.
I was trying to think about how to do that
the everyday people
gently, but I couldn't.
In that time, everyday people, they got married at 15, 16, and they died in their early 30s.
Yeah. So technically, you and me would already be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I want to be a prince. They get better food.
Healthcare.
Well, such as it was.
Yeah.
Leeches and bleeding. But they get better food. They live a cleaner life.
That's true, yeah.
So all of that but yeah, I would want to be a prince. I could be a really good prince.
I think you could too. I'd be interested to see what you would do with your power. Because that's the part I think people forget. Because you're going back to this great time and you get to meet all these people and stuff, but then you've got to remember your influence. Like, how are you going to influence the world around you?
Yep. Yeah, that would be interesting.
So, yeah, that's what I take from it. Maybe it's not what I should take from it, but that's what I take from it. So, yeah. Okay, so your last question for the books section is, has there ever been a book that you wish you'd never picked up? Now, I'm going to explain why I asked this question, is because we are undoing the negative attitude of reviewers out there, and we're showing them that you can have a bad book and you can put it away and not go out and destroy an author with your angry words.
There's a book that was been out years ago. It's an older book.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful book. It's a historic.
Okay.
And it's called Virginia Bedfellows. And
I've heard of that.
It takes place in colonial America.
Yep.
It's got great characters. It's got all this, but it does not have a happy ending.
Yeah, that's also true. I knew about that one.
It was so hard to read the book because I knew you could tell that one of the characters was going to die. And
but
it was so hard.
in that time period, that's what happens. Yeah.
So it was so hard to read, just because you had fallen in love with the characters, and then one of them is going to die. So it was like,
and you didn't know who as well.
Well,
yeah.
You knew it was set up. You knew it was going to happen because it wasn't like he was killed. It was disease. It was a slow progression, but it was still sad.
Yeah.
And
I felt that way about Casanova, I must admit. I felt sad about that.
It's like, I don't read to be sad.
No. And that one is like a lonely old man who never found his happiness,
But, this book, it's a beautiful book. It's wonderful. It was just very hard to read.
Yeah. And I think it's to do with taste as well. Like, you have to be super aware of your tastes and everybody else's tastes. You know, when you pick up a book, okay, it might not be your
Well,
cup of tea, but don't
just, I
don't
mean,
trash it for other
but
people, you
the
know?
thing is that if I was to review this book, I'd still give it 5 stars because it's an amazing book and it really
Yeah,
made me feel something.
yeah,
I just probably would not read it again because it makes me sad.
yeah. I would agree that that's a good response to have. I think that also talking about this is a good way for people to learn the effects of what they put on the internet that has on us as authors, because we act like we've got big thick skin and everything else, but really we're all a little bit soft and squishy and mushy.
Well,
So I think it's good that we just sort of kind of remind
yeah.
them, you
Well,
know.
everybody has an opinion,
Yes.
and and we've come to the point where everyone now has a mechanism to voice it.
Yeah.
And I mean, in some ways, that's a very, very good thing.
Mhm.
But just
It can be
because on the
harmful.
internet we can be anonymous doesn't mean that we can necessarily say everything or anything.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
because I had a reviewer once, um, she she gave on Amazon, and this was
Yeah.
when you could actually contact people easily.
Oh
You could
gosh.
message them directly, and I messaged her because she gave it a 2 stars, and I messaged her saying, "I would really like to talk with you because you've read more of my books, but what is it about this one
You
that you
didn't
didn't
like.
like?" Because she'd reviewed other books.
Yes. Yes.
And the response I got back was, "Oh, I was just having a bad day and I took it out with you, and suddenly the 2 star review became a 4."
Okay, that's I've never had
So,
that. I've always had the 2 star or did not finish, and I never contacted them.
well,
But
that was a
yeah,
long time ago. I
yeah,
guess my point is that there can be a lot of stuff that goes into a review, be it positive or negative. And as
exactly.
authors, we just have to go forward.
We can't
You,
control it. Yeah,
we can't, it's one of those things we can't control, so railing against it doesn't do us any good. Just go ahead and continue writing and continue on. It's all we can do. Remember, what you published and put out there is the past. It's what
yep.
you wrote 6 months ago. It's what you wrote a year ago. It's what you wrote 18 months ago.
It's what you
You,
write next that
you're in the
matters.
now, and that's where you have to be. We have to be as authors. We have to be in the now.
Yes, I would agree with that, and I have to kind of remind myself that I am constantly evolving, and okay, this might not hit the spot, but my next one might,
Well,
and that's important.
I mean, there have been people who have sent me notes about something or other, and it's like, okay, I engage with them. I ask why. I come to the but sometimes it's like, yes, but your expectations aren't realistic, and there's nothing I
Yeah.
can do about that.
Hmm.
Okay, what you expected from the book wasn't something I was ever going to give. Okay, fine, and
Yeah.
you move on. But I had a lady who was very articulate. She wrote me a wonderful note. We we went. I actually she was actually able to help me, and that was
Oh,
many years ago. Become a better writer. She
that's
pointed
amazing.
out some things that I could have done better, and she was right. And I incorporated them and became a better writer because of her. I even
Yeah.
dedicated a book to her
Oh, wow.
and thanked her for it
Yeah.
because she helped make me better. I also
Hmm.
appreciated so much that she was willing to take the time to spend with me
Yeah.
to do something. I mean, it's
Those I appreciate. The ones that, are you can kind of tell when it's just people taking it out on you. Those are harder,
well,
I think, because you're like, well, why are you targeting somebody out with yourself?
they've had a
You
bad
know?
day.
Yeah.
They've whatever it is. You just go on.
Hmm.
You cannot spend your effort and time on it.
No. No, I agree, and that's kind of my lesson. My life lesson is to try and roll with the punches a little bit and just go, okay, this didn't work out today, but tomorrow could be different. Tomorrow I might find something that touches people and I get more good reviews. I just have to keep believing in myself and believing in what I'm doing.
It's all any of us can do. You
Yeah.
always move forward. You can't go back. You can't change what's been done. So you just move forward.
Exactly.
And it's important to realize that you are not going to be everything to every reader.
Yep.
Some readers will be happy and love what you write. Some readers it isn't for them.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's whatever a person writes isn't going to be for everyone. That's okay.
Yeah, I agree.
There have been people that just have read some of my books and they say I don't think and I got a note saying from a reader saying, yeah, I don't think your books are for me. They're not bad written. They're not poorly written. It's nothing. I just don't think they're for me. And I said, well, and I came back with, I'm sorry about that. But I hope you find people and authors and material that is right for you, because everybody deserves to be happy and to love what they read.
I would agree with you on that.
And that's okay. That's perfectly okay. It's okay. And then we move on.
Mm-hmm. So moving into writing, how did you go about creating your darker elements of your story? Those moments where you have to try and get them over things, or bring them together. What is it? How do you do that? Is it do you create a mindset? Do you create a mood? Do you create an atmosphere? How do you go about getting in that position?
I just sit down and write it.
I like that.
I don't have a great big ritual for it. In fact, it's sort of like I sort of get excited when I'm coming to that part, because it's this big dramatic stuff and the words start to flow. So all that I do is just sit down and write it. In fact, I'll sit there and write and not get up because I'm in the middle of something and I don't want it to stop, because it's you've got all this excitement and all this energy going on.
Yeah.
And you get through all this, and there's going to be more energy because you're going to get, once you get to the other side, then you've got the resolution, then you've got all of the good stuff on the other side. So I just keep going.
Yeah, and that's an amazing feeling. To get there and to do it. But some writers, they do rituals and they do have things like that. But it's always nice to hear how maybe you do it, because it opens like another avenue for new writers to kind of learn from us.
I don't have a bunch of rituals for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've done that sort of thing 100+ times.
Oh, okay. So you have done the rituals.
And the rituals, I might have done them in the beginning, but now it's sort of like I just let myself get buried
into it
and engrossed in the story, and then away I go.
Yeah. So what inspired you to pick the genre of writing that you have?
Oh, that's easy.
I do have some easy ones. I'm not all Taskmaster.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I'm almost 60.
Yeah.
So I came of age during the AIDS era. And so of AIDS fiction. So everybody died. It was depressing. Gay fiction was depressing, so I just didn't read it for the longest time. And then, about 15, 16 years ago, Amazon, the great Satan, in its infinite wisdom, recommended...
I don't think you're supposed to say that.
Or something.
Yeah.
Recommended some gay romances. And I bought one and started reading it, and they had happy endings.
Yeah.
People got together. Nobody died.
Big change.
And so I started reading them and going to the gym and reading them. And Amazon was delivering books to my house once a week because I was reading them like crazy.
I was probably a lot more than that. And I still am probably a lot more than that because my husband is going to kill me if I keep going.
This was before the age of ebooks.
I can't read ebooks.
I was going on used book sites. I was buying all kinds of books. I was reading all these books,
Yeah.
and then I got this idea that I was going to try writing one. And I never told anyone that I was writing
Right.
a book until I was
Yeah.
halfway through the manuscript, and then I told my husband.
Did he not wonder though, with you typing away on your computer for long hours, what you were up to?
No, because he was at the time he was working
Ah, okay.
on he was doing translation work at home, so he was using stuff at the computer.
Right. Okay.
So,
So it wasn't yeah. So it was a little bit less
right.
like
But when he was
yeah.
working, I was working, and I told him it was about halfway through, and I actually finished the book.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and from there it just took off.
Yeah.
I wrote after the first one. I wrote a second book, and then a third book, and then
Hmm.
the first book got published, and it was okay. The second book got picked up by a publisher,
Right.
and it did okay. It was a fantasy. It did okay, but I
Hmm.
kept working. I kept at it, and I think it was the fifth book that really took off.
Yeah. There's always one where you kind of dwindle and dwindle, and then boom, you kind of start
It
flying.
yeah, that fifth book really took off, and then the sixth book, and then from there it just went. And I
Yeah.
had, we were, and there we go. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's how it all started with these books from Amazon that I just tried and
You just ended
wrote,
up falling in love with. Yeah.
found gay romance, and I found these stories of people falling in love with happy endings.
Those are the best. I will say that those are the best when you just get that breathtaking feeling and you just fly away with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, my book number would be like 10 times what you just said, so you made me feel a little bit better about myself. When it comes to kind of writing, are you a jigsaw man where you're kind of piecing it all together, or is it more like a movie for you?
I start at the beginning and write my way through.
So it's more pantsing than
Yep.
maybe plotting, or
Yep. I mean, I start with an idea. I generally know where I know where that idea is going to go. In
right.
my mind, I have some of the major turning points will come, and then I'll
Yeah.
sit down and write the book. And sometimes those turning points shift and change.
Yeah.
But yep, I just sit down and write the book.
I mean that's incredible to me because I did that and my writing was horrible, and I learned to go and plot it out and go step by step. It's not like a jigsaw to me; it is like a film, but I'm able to note down what's happening so that I don't get that awful writer's block of, oh shit, where am I supposed to be at this specific moment because I've gone off on a tangent somewhere. Um, and yeah, if I didn't do that, I think I would have
I've
gotten lost a long
I've
time
don't
ago.
I've never really, knock on wood, had an issue with writer's block.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I I just keep going.
Yeah.
I'm very persistent. I just keep going.
Hmm. Yeah. But
And
that's good.
even
That
if
is
it's
good.
scene by scene, even if it's okay, I've got the next scene, so I'm going to write the next scene, and then all of a sudden, at some
Yeah.
point, the roadmap in my mind opens up, and there's the rest of the book, and away we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm at that point right now in a book.
Oh, wow.
I'm writing a book called The Resident's Dilemma.
I like the sound of that.
He's an ER resident. It's a doctor. He's in
Oh,
his residency training.
I love those ones. I really
And
do. I like
and so
yeah.
I'm writing the end of it. I'm coming to the end of the story,
Yeah.
and so now I got to the really good parts. I've got to the the bad guy has done his thing, and I'm coming to the black moment where things go to hell, and then
Of
I get to
course.
write the part afterwards. So that's what after I'm done here, that's what I'm going to do is I get to write that part
I'd have the fun of that part. Yeah.
and have
No, I
all the
get
fun of
that.
that part because I have to have the book done in about 2 days.
Oh, deadlines are awful, aren't they?
Well, because I have to start another book because that one has a deadline for next month. So I have to finish this one so I could write the next one.
I don't envy you that because I think deadlines for me makes me
Oh,
panic
oh no!
and
I
not
know
in a
what I'm
good
going to
way.
write. I know what the next story is going to be.
Yeah.
I just got back from a cruise, and I've decided
Oh,
I'm going to write it on a cruise. I've got my characters. One is
I love
this.
that.
One is this hypersexual bi hypersexual bi individual.
Right.
Okay, he is bisexual. He knows that.
Yep.
Um, but mostly he has had women in his life because it's what's expected. So it's going to be a little different on a
Yes,
cruise
because
ship.
he's going to explore a little bit more
Yeah.
than just what
Well,
he was thinking.
that's the
Yeah.
other one. The other character I have decided is going to be a a performer.
Oh,
He's going to be sort of famous.
I like that.
Okay, and and he needs to get away. He needs a vacation. He needs time away. He needs all
Yeah.
of that,
Yeah.
right? So he and Jeffrey are going to go on this cruise together
Yeah.
because Jeffrey wants a room. He's got this room. He wants a roommate for the cruise because he doesn't want to go on a cruise alone.
No, 'cause never a nice
Okay,
feeling. Yeah.
and so these two are going to get together, and there's going to be, and I can just see this scene in my mind. It's the whole thing, which is they're on the cruise ship, and the biggest
Yeah.
thing is that they're going to get, the cruise ship passengers in the end are going to get a performance from whatever his name is.
Oh, okay. I like where you're
He's,
going with this.
yes, in
Yeah.
a way, he's going to save the cruise because one of the entertainers for the cruise is sick and can't perform.
Oh, that's sad.
So
But
yeah,
I
so
like the fact that it's going to be a love story and that they're going to
it's going to definitely be a romance, but
yeah.
it's going to be a
They get to
romance with lots of
experience it.
tension
Yeah.
and everything else. And the cool part is that the way that he's going to convey his feelings is by the choice of song that he sings in front of everyone.
Oh, I like
But the
that.
song is going to be sung to that
Yeah.
one person in the audience.
Of course, you couldn't have it any other way. I
Yeah.
love that. I
So that's
think
going to
those
be
are
the next one. It's going
special.
to be
Like,
fun.
those ones are really special because that's the sort of thing that they're very touching, those stories, because it is a very individual journey that they're going on. It's a very difficult story that they're going on, and it's one that you get to share in a very unique kind of setting and in a very unique way. And I love that. I think
So that's
that's yeah,
yeah. So that's
that
going to be
was
the
a
next
story
story.
for me. I definitely think that's a story for me.
So
Yeah.
that's going to be the next one. So I'm going to finish this one so that I can write that one.
Yeah, because you and me, right? We're gonna have to sit and like talk about the stuff that you and me are working on. Because I know that I'm desperately trying to find an agent again, like an agent that's one that I can trust. And I think just talking to you, because you seem to be more, you're down to earth and you don't seem to take any of the usual drama and you don't get involved in the usual drama. So yeah, I think when it comes to asking for advice and help, I think you're definitely one of the people that I can turn to and say, I don't know what I'm doing here, help. you know? So yeah, I am so honored to be sitting and talking to you, and I know a lot of new writers out there will be thinking the same.
So what other questions do we have? I know we've got a.
We've
I know you sent me a whole list.
Yeah, we do. We have a whole list. Is there a character that you wish you could write more about?
Well, wow.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Well, there's some of the early books. There's a character that I just there's a couple characters I absolutely fell in love with. In fact, I think I wrote 9 books in
Oh,
that
okay.
series, and they
Yeah.
9 or 11 books in that series, and they appear in almost all of them.
Yeah.
and it was Jeff
Oh.
and Eli from the Love Means stories. Those are some of the very early books, and
Yeah.
I just love those stories. And Jeff is probably as close to me as I've ever written.
Oh, okay. So you've really poured yourself into him.
I
You've
put a
written what
lot
you
of
know.
myself into
Yeah.
those books because I wrote the story of Jeff and Eli, and Jeff is a farmer, and basically the inspiration of the first book, which is Love Means No Shame, is what is a little Amish boy doing sleeping in my barn?
Oh, okay.
And then
I
I
like
had
that.
that book, and then the next one I wrote because Jeff had gay parents, so I went back and wrote their story as a prologue, the entire
Right.
book.
Yeah.
And then I went forward and wrote all the other stories.
Yeah.
But Jeff and Eli, um, they, um, they they appear in almost. In fact, Jeff appears in all of the stories because even in the prologue, Jeff is a child.
Yeah, of course.
So the
Yeah.
cool part is you see Jeff as a child. You see Jeff as a young man falling in love. You see Jeff maturing through the books, and eventually, in a short story, you see him and Eli's son graduating from high school.
Oh,
So you even see
wow.
the characters as they grow older.
Yeah. So do you think we'll ever hear more from Jeff and his little family?
I
Could
don't
we
think
see
so.
the romance of the sun maybe blooming next?
Probably not.
Oh.
That world has. I haven't written anything in that world in over a decade.
You never know what might come to you, though.
You do. You never know. But I tried, and I wrote an ancillary story that takes
Yeah.
place in the area, and it was fun. But no, I don't have that. I think that world is done. That world has done what it's going to do.
Yeah. So have you had a character that's, would you say, is lingered that you've never quite shook other than
Oh,
Jeff?
there are a few characters that have stuck around no matter what. And it's the funniest thing because I've never quite been able to shake Jeff, even though I haven't written anything about him in a very long time.
Yeah.
He's always there. I think he's just part of me. Like I said,
Yeah.
he's as close to writing myself as possible. So I think forgetting him it would be like trying to forget part of me.
Though that is very true. I've been there myself. I know what that feels like. If you could change one thing in publishing, what would it be?
Publishing, I mean, the thing about publishing itself is that it's a business.
Yeah.
It's about making money. It's about it's about the publisher making money. It's about us making money on what we sell. That's what it is at its core. It's a business.
Yeah.
Um, so changing something about publishing, I would love it if publishing was more diverse. If
Same here. Yeah.
okay, but the thing is that in order for publishing to be more diverse, then that means that we need the readership to ask for more diverse books.
Yeah.
Publishing
Yeah.
is not the leader; it's the follower. The
Yes.
readers are the leader. So, and that's what's cool there are a lot of things happening that weren't happening 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
I would agree. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, Harlequin is publishing an comedy.
That never happened 5 years ago. That's
And
for
that
sure.
wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. So there are other things that are happening that will continue to happen, and as readers, we have to demand it. If this is what
Yeah.
you
We
want,
do.
let publishing know, and publishing will deliver it because it's a business.
Yeah. If you don't ask for it, we can't provide it.
And if
You
it's
know, it's
out
a
there, buy it.
gosh. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I wish people would do that a lot. I
Well,
I have been told how amazing my stories have been, and I sit back and I think, well, if my stories are amazing, why don't people buy them? You get that doubt within the publishing industry almost, because it is normally about sales and, you know, all that kind of things, and I
it's a,
find that
it's a
really
business.
difficult.
It's a
Yeah,
business. And the hard part is that sometimes, I mean, you've got those. Sometimes it makes no sense what it is that sells. Sometimes it
I would
just
agree.
makes no
Yeah,
sense. Okay,
yeah,
but it's what's but publishers are going to publish what sells.
yeah. And I am seeing a lot more mainstream publishers, published authors starting to, you know, if there is a series they want to finish, them going out and releasing it themselves, and it do well for themselves. I don't recommend, like, it's not a route I would personally take, because I don't trust my grammar and I, you know, everything else, and it is expensive to put a book out yourself. Um, but yeah, like that's my opinion. You know, I think it's great that they are doing that and people are getting to read the end results of series as they wouldn't otherwise get to see. Which is the hardest challenge you've ever had in writing?
Um, I mean,
Yeah, we're back to the tough questions again.
well, writing is in every book you put some of yourself.
Yeah,
So how can you have to be able to come up with things that are fresh and new and different and fun after 175 books.
mm-hmm.
The 176th has to be as interesting and fun and great as the first one or the third one or the fourth one. So
Yep.
it's always about keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting,
Yeah.
not writing the same thing again, but writing something that's fun and fresh.
Mm-hmm. Which is difficult. It's very, very difficult. And I think as we're now starting to appreciate, you know, I think the more that we go on in our careers, we appreciate how difficult it actually is. But yeah, you do sometimes sit there and think, what the hell have I got myself into? You have those moments of, can I keep doing this? Can I keep coming up with fresh things? It is not easy, and that's why I admire people that do go through it. So yeah. Well, moving on to your life.
Okay.
This is where we demystify authors and all the hassle and stuff we go through. What is the first thing that you do when you want to de-stress from editing and writing and all the pressures that goes with it?
I'll put on something in television and take a nap.
That is completely that's the only time I've ever had that answered. That wow.
I'll
Okay.
put something on television and I will try. I will take a nap. I will just shut down for a while.
That is so not what I expected. I'm like totally in
Like I
shock.
said,
Okay.
I'm nearly 60. I get to the point now where I can take a nap at the drop of a hat.
Hey, I'm 33 and I can do that. Okay.
But
I
I just find
yeah.
that just getting away from it, taking it easy,
Yeah.
um, letting my brain just settle down,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and then
I
and then I can come back to what I was doing.
yeah, I agree. What hobbies do you enjoy, and are there ones you wish you could explore more?
Yeah, um, there are always ones I could explore more, but I have limits on my time. I garden
We
a
all do.
lot. I, I,
Oh wow.
I do that. I'm the president of my garden club. So I'm actually a member of a garden club, and I'm the president of the garden club.
Okay.
That's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Dominic and I will do some craft projects. We're both very handy.
Yeah. Like when you say craft, are you meaning knitting, sewing, painting, or are you meaning housecraft, as in, you know, DIY, that
Both,
kind of thing?
lots of DIY.
Yeah.
But but we also do, um, we have things that we do like one of the things that I like to do is there's a you paint ceramic place in town, and so whenever my niece comes to visit, she and I will go over and paint stuff.
Wow.
And
That is nice, yeah.
and I mean, I have a few other hobbies. Mostly it's about time. I mean, if I get involved in a whole bunch of stuff, then I'm suddenly really busy with things
Yeah.
that are taking up time but aren't getting me anywhere. So I have to be careful about the things that I let into my time frame.
Yeah.
Um, Dominic and I like to travel, and as
Yes.
we get older, I want to be able to do more of that.
Yeah, of course. And cruising's a great way to do it because everything is there and you're not worrying about what finding restaurants and all
Yep,
that kind of
it's
stuff.
all there.
So yeah. Yeah.
The only vacation where he and I don't fight about food.
I have to understand this. Why do you fight about food?
Because Dominic will look for everything and try to find the perfect restaurant. No terms is I'm hungry. I want to eat now.
Yeah, no, I'm that.
For him, food is a big deal. For me, it's like I want to eat now.
Yeah, I like to
Easily.
eat food that I can actually eat, whereas my husband's diet is so restricted. I have to almost say, well, where do you want to eat? Because I know when I want to eat, he's not going to eat. So yeah, and I get the same.
Yeah.
I get the same problem. So I do.
We have that sort of thing. So a cruise vacation is very easy because the food is there. We don't argue about what we want to eat.
Yeah, I love that. Um, it was nice because when I had my parents here and my aunt, and they were staying in a self catering flat, and I went and stayed with them for 4 days, and it was amazing because I didn't have to worry about his diet, my partner's diet. I could just eat in these beautiful restaurants because my mom's a chef, so I know what good food is,
Yeah.
and I got to sit and I had all this gorgeous food, and I didn't have to feel guilty once. I didn't have to turn to Ian and say, I'm hungry now. Can you pick something before I eat you? Because that sometimes is an issue, especially when you've got a partner who's got a specialized diet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally understand that now.
Yep.
What do you look forward to the most now that in your writing career? Like, and in life. What's the things you look forward to most?
Gosh. You know, I don't look forward to the big things so much anymore. It's the little
Okay.
things that I mean. I tend to look forward to the littler things now. I mean, I don't
Okay.
have these big, huge plans. COVID sort of changed all of that because we made all these plans, and then COVID hit, and then we ended up undoing all of those plans.
Yeah, I had that issue too.
So now it's smaller things like this coming weekend we're going to the Renaissance Fair, and I'm looking forward to that. I've got
Yeah.
some conferences later this month, and then it's the holidays. And then it
Yeah.
will be quiet for the winter, and I'll be able to sit with my writing and my computer and have quiet time. Um, you know, I've got, yes, I've got some big books and I've got some things that are happening, but I can't affect the publishing world.
Yeah.
I can propose things. I can hope that the publishers like them and will take them. But other than that, I'm now looking at things in my private life and what can we do to
Yeah.
have fun and what can we do that we've
Yeah.
always wanted to do.
And that's really good because I know from my own experiences with COVID, it was hard. Like, I was staying with my folks. I thought it'd be easy. My partner really struggled because he couldn't get, work just evaporated.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard, just trying to get our head around everything that was going on, everything we had to think about. And when we moved out of my parents' house and we came down to the mainland of the UK, it didn't get any easier. I got sicker, and that made it, that made it harder. So now I I worry about things that I know that I can change, like making sure I do things that help my health and making sure that I don't overdo it, because I know if I overdo it, I'm going to be bedbound for a few days. So it's things like that, just reminding myself that, life's good. Let's enjoy it. Let's not worry.
Yep.
Let's just keep going and enjoy the moments that we can. Because we
Yep.
never know when it's going to be over. Like, I think all of us might have learned that the hard way. You know, um, we don't know when life's just going to suddenly change on us. Um, so that was what I learned.
So I'm just being happy with the littler things now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm cool with
I
that.
think it's such a good lesson to have learned. I hope people see it like that, and they don't want to just banish COVID to the outer limits of the universe, because I think we all learned something really positive out of all that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we all did in our own way. Learned something extremely positive and extremely good for us. Personal opinion.
Yep.
What's the first thing you do in the morning?
Um.
This
So the
is
first.
one that always teases people
Oh,
because
I
we
mean,
all have different
I get up
routines.
generally in a t-shirt, sweatpants, or shorts, and I move to the other room and start work. I
So you don't put the coffee on
I don't drink
or do the
coffee.
dishes or anything like that. You just
My
straight
husband
up
does the
straight to the
dishes.
computer.
I go to the computer and I start work.
Wow.
My
I wish
husband
I could do that.
was a chef, so the kitchen is his domain.
Oh, so you don't enter. Right. Okay, I get
So
it
so
now. My husband,
I
that's
get
like the
up and I
garage.
go to the other
I
room
don't
and I
enter,
start work.
so yeah.
I start work.
I like that. Man after my heart. Um, what do you have? Do you feel like when you're crafting, do you feel, now this is a plumber analogy and I have not come up with a better one, but here we go. So when you're crafting, do you not feel like it clears the pipes? It clears all that crap out and you feel like you're starting completely afresh.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Sometimes it. I mean, it's just different, I guess. I mean, the story is there, and so the pipes never get clear. I always use it as a well, and because
Oh, okay.
the stories bubble up from the bottom, and that never stops.
Right.
They never get clear. There's never that. I mean, I finished one story, and and we finished one story, sent it to my publisher, and while I was on the train going to the cruise, while I was cruising on the train to New York so that we could catch the cruise ship, I was writing the next story. It never stops.
I
It
have
just
that.
keeps going.
Yeah, I have that, but I have to do the kind of step away at night, put it down, and then I have to craft so that my brain shuts down so I can sleep. Because if
Yeah.
I don't, I'm sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning with the notebook going, oh, this and oh, that and oh. And it drives my husband nuts. He can't sleep. So I have to kind of almost take that step back and just go, okay, this is a time to write. This is a time to be with family. This is a time to sleep.
Well, yes, that's true. I mean, I don't
I think
write
that's
all the
important.
time.
Yeah.
Generally, in the evenings, I stop,
Yeah.
and so that Dominic and I have time together.
Yeah. Which is important. It is really important. I myself have a long-term illness that makes me slow down and appreciate the day. What would you say slows you down to smell the roses? What's your
Um,
moment?
I mean, I've just learned to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
I
no
can't.
little tricks or that you can pass on to
There's
people
no
out there.
little tricks for me. I can take the days off. Um, I will just. I mean, Saturday's coming up, and Saturday I have nothing. I will be busy all day. We're
Oh
going to
dear.
friends. We go for friends for breakfast, and then we will go to the Ren Fair, and that's an all day thing. And then We'll have food afterwards, and then we'll come home. It'll just be a whole day, and I won't be thinking about stories at all.
I hear a hope there. Like,
Oh
it
no,
might happen.
it's all said and done. That's exactly what's going to happen. I won't be thinking about it because it'll be my day to just wind down and let it go. Sunday I'll pick it up again.
Because you can only, like, I feel like you can only walk away for so long. And then you end up, I don't want to say back where, where you started, but you can't walk away because the story drags you in. And you have to just sit and write it. You just have to sit and constantly
I don't
follow
have to do that, but I don't put stories down forever either. I mean a day or two tops.
Yeah.
But every now and then a day of rest, a day away, that's good. That helps.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But
I
summer,
find it hard to
spend
go any
some
longer
time
than
in
that,
the
though.
afternoon out in the yard with my elbows up to my elbows in dirt, and do gardening projects and things like that. It all helps. You know, some things that are away from the work that are just totally unrelated. Let your mind do something. I generally will try to do something physical to let my mind rest.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. For me, I know for me, I have to take time away because sometimes I get overly invested in a story and I end up overwriting. I get overly. I'm trying to think of the word here. I get stuck, and then I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like, and I overwrite, and then I have to go back and I have to unpick it all.
That's okay.
Those are my bad habits. So I have taught myself to get up and walk away and then come back when my head's not so frantic.
That happens to everybody. And then you
Yeah.
come back and you start fresh after take a day off here and there. You come back, you start fresh. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do. I can't tell you how many times. Oh, I need to go back and add this because I forgot it, or that happens.
Yeah, yeah.
It happens to all of us.
And it's nice. It's nice when you have somebody else who you can say, I've done this and I don't think I've done it right, and then to have like somebody just come and sit down next to you and say it's okay. It's almost like you don't feel quite so lonely when you find that person you can have that conversation
when
with.
you're writing and you're doing all this, step back and just finish the dang book.
And enjoy it.
Don't worry about all of the other stuff. Just finish the book. You can always go back to it. You can always rework it, but just finish the book.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to do that now. And I'm also trying to enjoy it while I'm doing it too. And I think that's new for me because I always was like, gotta get it done, gotta get it done, gotta get it done. And Ian will be like, take a breath, like. So now I am trying to enjoy the journey of writing it rather than just feel like I'm under the gun to get it done. Where's your favorite place to curl up during the day? Is it garden, cafe, reader's nook? Where do you like to go?
I'm sitting in my writing room right now, and
So
what I
your
do
writer's
is
room.
I sit in my writing room, and I have blankets, I have comfy things, and I'll just surround myself with comfy things.
Okay, that's
If
interesting.
if I need to get away, well then there's always television. There's always other things, or I'll finish what I'm working or finish the story, and then I'll pick up a book. I use a reward system. If I meet my goal for the day, well then I can read, or I can watch television, or I can do something. But if I've still got work to do, then the television's off and the books are put away. So I do this carrot thing.
Yeah, carrot and stick, yeah. Oh, I get it. I had to do the same thing. Wrestling's my addiction. So I have to put it away, and then when it's time to get whatever done, I can do it. And that is how I operate. Right, we've made it to the word game. You'll be glad to hear this is coming to the end of the podcast, and this is the funnest part. So when I say a word, you have to think of a book that ties to it. Now, in my mind, I had to try and imagine where I would meet you in an ideal author world. And for me, it was it's a smoker's room with a library in an old man's club that I have snuck in under disguise.
Okay, but
And
no
we are
smoke.
well, obviously, but
No
I'm
smoking,
giving
I
you
can't see
the
smoking.
atmosphere. And we're sitting in the corner with a really nice sherry each, and we're talking books. So
Okay.
that was the image I had in my head when I thought of you. Um, and obviously there is coffee too, so it's like coffee and sherry. So that was my idea when I put down the word list. So
Okay.
I'm excited to see what you come up with. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Coffee.
Yuck.
That's not a book.
Okay. Coffee, we'll go with a taste of love.
Oh, okay. Okay. Books.
Um, New Leaf, bookstore.
That's really, yeah, that ties into yours. What about leather armchairs?
Ooh.
A
The
little bit
Lord of the
harder this
Rings.
time.
The
Sorry?
Lord of the Rings.
You're gonna have to explain the connection with that one.
I always see Tolkien as writing, sitting in a leather armchair and
Oh,
writing
okay,
his
right. I
thing.
see where you're going.
I
Yeah.
always see him working on that in this leather armchair in the library, you know, because he was an academic. So I always see him in one of those old English academic libraries in his armchair with his notebook going at it.
Yeah, I can see that too. Okay. Swirling staircases.
Oh my gosh, Harry Potter.
That's such a jump. I wasn't expecting, sorry, I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, come on, she's got those moving staircases and everything else in those
Well,
books.
that is true. Yeah.
So
Funnily enough, when I went through this, the first thing I had two. I had Forsyth Saga, and I had The Court of Thorns and Roses. Was the two that I had for that.
Harry Potter,
Yeah,
those,
such an easy one.
those staircases.
Gas lamps.
What?
Gas lamps is like lamps that are uh,
Oh,
burnt with gas in them.
ooh, Anne Perry, London.
I went Sherlock Holmes.
Anne Perry wrote these amazing Victorian mysteries, and they're all set in that Victorian London with the gas lamps and
I know. I've seen her. She's amazing. I just don't know why I thought Sherlock Holmes.
well, that works too. I mean, it's the same sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it is. It is. What about rugs? You know those really thick rugs your feet slips into when you're walking.
Ooh. Okay, then with really thick rugs and that sort of thing, then we have to go with something like Fire and Ermine with the Prince.
Ooh, okay.
Because
Yeah, we're
they
touching on
always
some
have
good
those
stuff
really
here.
thick. They go into these rooms with this beautiful furniture and this thick carpet that you never make a sound because the carpet's so thick and so lush, and those rugs are just so perfect.
It's my dream. Honestly, my dream is to get one of those carpets that your feet just absolutely sink into. I would love to own one of those, but I have not yet stayed somewhere that I could buy one. So, yeah. Open fireplaces.
Ooh, open fireplaces. I mean, let's.
That's a tough one.
Well,
I have ones of your
well,
sticking.
you've got open fireplaces, so you've got atmosphere. You've
Yeah,
got you could have making love in front of it.
exactly. Well, that's what I
Um,
think of
we
open
could do
fireplaces.
we could do Lost and Found,
Yeah,
the
that's a
western
good one.
with dogs, and the dogs love to curl up in front of the fireplace.
Yeah, my cats loved it too. My parents, they would curl up in front of the burner and they would just watch the flames all night. And I loved that scene. Your last word, and then you survived the game, is dark corners.
Dark corners, shadows, mystery. Ooh,
I had a really weird one. I had Twilight was the instant
well,
thought I had
we
there.
could go with Twilight, but not so much. I'm thinking something along the lines of
There's also
a
Vampire
good
Diaries too.
Karen Rose book. Let's say You're Sorry.
Oh, that's a good one.
One
Okay,
of
I
one of
like
one of
yours
her
better.
thrillers, because there's always these
Yep,
darkness, there's always this depth, and it's not necessarily the corners of the room, but it's the dark corners of the mind.
I agree. I love that. Well, folks, that is the end of the podcast for this week. It has been an absolute honor to have Andrew on. And Andrew, please contact me when you've got some more stuff coming out. And I promise the next conversation will be all about your books now that we've introduced you to the audience. So yeah, please come back. We absolutely adore you and we love what you've done. So yeah, guys, you want to come back next week because we have a Swedish crime writer who's taking over Britain. You're gonna want to see this.